Well, students, we are in lecture 3 and we are discussing about time value of money. In the last class, we have discussed present value of a single cash flow. Now we'll discuss the present and future value of a cash flow stream. Before getting into these, we will define what is meant by a cash flow stream. So you are given an interval, say 0 to capital T, and this is the period of investment. You put your money at T equal to 0 and you are getting back your money along with interest, say with at T equal to capital T. So what we do usually is partition our interval into several parts, say n parts, and we call the initial time as T naught, T1, and then T2 and so on, Tn minus 2, Tn minus 1, and finally this is Tn, which is also capital T. This is how generally we partition our interval. So far what we have seen is we make an investment at T equal to 0 and we sit quietly. Either the bank will pay interval at every intermediate times, or it gives you the interest plus the principal at T equal to capital T. Now what we are doing is we may or may not put money at T equal to T naught, but later we may put money at any time. So that's the freedom now we have. See, for instance, you may put some money, say X naught here, and then you may put money X1, X2, or you may withdraw money. In any case, it can go like that. Xn minus 2, Xn minus 1, and this is Xn. So that's what we mean to say, that you have a sequence of cash flows. Okay, it's not one single cash flow at some time and then another single cash flow at the end. Okay, so in between also it can be a cash flow. It's like in a bank account, you put money and then sometimes you take money, sometimes you put money, like that it goes on, right? So that can be a example of a cash flow. Sometimes you pay money to somebody and they start giving you in installment the money that you gave. That can be also interpreted as cash flow and so on. Okay, for a given time partition T naught, T1 up to Tn for a period, so this is the entire period, generally we take it as 0 to capital T. The cash flow stream is actually a n plus 1 tuple where each xk denotes the value of money transaction occurred at that time tk. Okay, so it may be you are giving some money to somebody or somebody is giving money to you. It depends on from whose point of view you are seeing this cash flow stream. Okay, let me give some example. Consider Mrs. Sahana created a savings account in a bank on 1st of January. These dates are not very important, just to have a clarity I'm giving these dates. Assume that the bank is going to give interest at a constant interest rate, say 4% per annum. Generally, the interest rates we will take as per annum unless we specify explicitly, with the interest payment being quarterly. See, these are the information we have to pick up very carefully. 4% annum and payment is quarterly. Now she initially deposited, so that is something equivalent to principal or capital in your investment. She initially deposited 100 rupees in the account. Now we want to derive the cash flow stream. So some books just say cash flow, some books but most of the people say cash flow stream. Okay. In the account till the end of 2022, that is 31st December 2022, we want to write the cash flow into the account. Okay, so therefore we will be writing this cash flow from the point of view of the account. If you write it from the point of view of Mrs. Sahana, it will be different. Okay, how we write it? At t equal to t naught, which we take as 0, Sahana put an amount of 100 into the bank account. Therefore, x naught is 100, right? And now the bank start giving or crediting the interest at the rate of r is equal to 4%, that is r is equal to 0.04, right? Therefore, at t is equal to t1, the bank will put money, which we call generally as t1, is p of 0 into 1 plus 0.04 into t1, right? Note that the bank gives quarterly, therefore t1 is after 3 months, right? So what is the interest? So here the principal amount is increased by this factor. Okay, so this is called accumulation factor, but the bank will credit only the interest part. How that interest, that therefore x1 is what the interest that is put in the account, that is into x naught. So this is in our present notation, it is p of 0 is x naught divided by quarterly, therefore it is 4. That amounts to be 1, I guess, because your 100 rupees and the interest rate is 4, therefore each quarter you will get 1%, therefore it is x1 is 1. Okay, and at t is equal to t2, again the bank is going to put only the interest into the account. Therefore, the second cash flow into the bank account is only the interest part, that is r, into the principal at that time available in the bank account, which is nothing but x naught, which is in our case is the principal, which is nothing but the initial deposit that Mrs. Sahana has put in the account, plus x1, which is the interest at the first quarter that the bank paid. That is totally your principal now. For that, the bank will be paying the interest. So the interest is r by 4 because each quarter we are paying. Therefore, that is going to be 0.04 into 101 divided by 4, and that is 1.01. Like that you can go on. Okay, so there are totally how many payments you have? You are going to consider for 2 years. Okay, each year has 4 quarters. Therefore, you have totally 8 such entries. Okay, x3 you will get, and x4 like that you will get till x8. Okay, so if you see, therefore the cash flow stream is given by the first initial payment is 100, then the bank gave interest at the end of first quarter, that is this is x naught, this is x1, and then this is x2, x3, x4, x5, x6, x7, and x8. Okay, so that's how the cash flow happened in the account till the end of 2022. Let us take another example where there are two friends. One we will call as Mr. Poor, and another one we will call as Mr. Rich. Okay, Mr. Poor borrowed rupees 1200 from his friend Mr. Rich and promised to pay rupees 300 every quarter. Okay, so he pays 300 every quarter and covers it in 1 year. Of course, we assume that they are very good friends. Therefore, Mr. Rich is not demanding any interest from Mr. Poor. So if no interest is charged, then the cash flow stream for the person Mr. Poor is given like this. Initially, he got 1200, therefore it is plus 1200. Then he started paying 300 every quarter. Therefore, it is going out. So this is inflow, this is outflow from the point of view of Mr. Poor. Okay, so you have to carefully choose the sign while writing the cash flow stream. Okay, it depends on from whose point of view you are writing this cash flow. Okay, now you are writing it from the point of view of Mr. Poor. Therefore, 1200 is a inflow from Mr. Rich to Mr. Poor. Therefore, it is 1200 is plus, and then followed by 4 quarters, he repays that money. Therefore, everything is minus 300. Whereas if you see the cash flow from Mr. Rich point of view, it is at the initial stage, that is x naught, you have a outflow, therefore it is negative. Then x1 to x4, it is an inflow because Mr. Poor is paying money back to Mr. Rich. Therefore, it comes as an inflow to the person. Therefore, this is typically the cash flow stream for Mr. Rich. If you call this as a vector x and if you call this as vector y, you can see that x, which is the cash flow stream for Mr. Poor, and y, which is the cash flow for Mr. Rich, the relation between them is x is equal to minus of y. Okay, so that is how we handle these cash flows and compare them. We often need to compare one cash flow with the other one. So we do like this. Next, let us define future value of a cash flow stream. For the sake of simplicity, we will assume that the interest rate R per annum is constant over the entire time period. This is just for the sake of simplicity. One can also vary from subinterval to subinterval. So we are given a cash flow. The aim is to find the future value of this cash flow stream. So let's take the case of compound interest. Okay, so we are given a cash flow, means what? We are given a time interval partition, say T0, T1, and so on. So we are given a time partition like this, and we are also given the value of the transaction at each time. Now, how to find the future value of this flow X? So you can see that the money which is staying initially X naught is going to give you the interest for the entire period. Therefore, you have x naught into 1 plus what is the interest rate R into T divided by N. We always assume that the constant interest rate frequency is actually N. Okay. Otherwise also we can make the formula for future value, but you will go into unnecessary complications. One can think about it, but we will never do it. Okay, we always assume that the frequency of the compound interest is equal to the dimension of your cash flow stream. I mean, one less. Okay, because you start with x naught, therefore n plus 1 is the dimension of this cash flow stream, but we will always take the frequency as 1 less than that. Okay, so this is what your x naught will accumulate, right? And x1 that you are putting is after a delay of the first due interval. Therefore, this will pay you the interest, which is 1 plus, okay, this is, there is a n here, 1 plus RT by n, but this is going to pay you only for n minus 1 term, right? Therefore, this is n minus 1. And similarly, the money that you put here is actually going to pay you interest only for the remaining time, that is only for n minus 2 periods. Therefore, x2 will pay you the interest as n minus 2 period. Okay, like that it goes on. Okay, now the future value is nothing but you add all this. Okay, because you put x naught, and if you stayed without putting anything after that, that is one single cash flow, you would have got this money. If you would have put just x1 and neither put x naught nor you put the other things, then you would have got this money, and so on. Okay, therefore the future value of the entire cash flow stream is nothing but what you put here plus what you put here, and so on. Okay, so you have to add everything to get your future value of your entire cash flow stream. Okay, in the case of compound interest with frequency n is, therefore you can see it is given by this. Okay, what it is, put k equal to 0, you have x naught into 1 plus RT by n to the power of n. You can go back to our previous slide and see that that is what you accumulate by putting x naught, plus if you put k equal to 1, that is x1 1 plus RT by n, n minus k. So k is 1, therefore n minus 1, plus so on. At the end, if you put k equal to n, you have xn. Okay, xn you are putting at the time t. Therefore, it will not accumulate any interest at t itself, right? So therefore, it is n minus n, that is actually 1. Okay, so therefore there is no interest for your last payment because it was made at time t equal to t, and you have taken the interval to end at t. That is why you don't have any interest for the last payment. So this is the future value of x as far as the compound interest is concerned with frequency n. Okay, so if the frequency is different from n, that is connected to the dimension of your cash flow stream, even then you can do it, but you need to have complicated ideas coming in. Therefore, we will omit such complications. We will take and understand these formulas in that simple form, because for us what is important is what they mean. Okay, because we will be using this in pricing options. Therefore, what it means is more important than their entire details. So we will just restrict ourselves to this case. So once we understand the future value formula for compound interest, we can just repeat the same idea and derive the future value formula in the case of simple interest and also in the case of continuous compound interest. Often we come across the cash flow stream which is uncountable. Remember, the cash flow streams that we have studied so far are, in fact, there are only finite transactions. You may have uncountable. It means the cash flow may be continuously coming or going out in your account, in which case you may have to have a function that defines your transactions. Okay. Once you know that, then you can again talk about the future value of such a cash flow stream under the continuous compound interest mode. Okay. In that case, your summation, in the case of discrete cash flow stream, you have the formula of future value involving a summation, whereas in the uncountable mode with continuous compounding interest, we have the formula involving the integral, and that is given by this expression. Finally, the formulas that we have given so far are for interest rate are given per annum. That is why we always divide it by n, then multiply it by this, the terminal time t. Okay, so this expression, that is RT by n, if we just will denote it by R tilde, and that is called the per period interest rate. Okay, so this is the per period interest rate. Often we will be given per period interest rate and asked to find the future value or something else, in which case, if you recall, for instance, in the compound interest formula, we had RT by n here, right? So that we will just replace by R tilde. So you have to carefully see whether the interest rate is given per annum. Per annum means you have to put this expression into your formula. On the other hand, if it is given per period, then you have to just put this formula. This one has to carefully apply, especially from the examination point of view. The interest rate is given whether it is per annum or per period, you have to see, and accordingly you have to apply. So this formula is mostly given in books like Leuenberger and all. Okay, so you have to be careful about what input is given to you, and accordingly carefully you have to use the corresponding formula. Let us have an example for the future value of a stream. Consider a depositor opted for a recurring deposit scheme in a bank where she pays 1,000 rupees on the first day of every month and for a year. Now the question is, what is the maturity amount of this recurring deposit? The maturity amount is precisely the future value of the cash flow of the recurring deposit. Say if the bank gives you an annual interest rate of 6, that is R is equal to 0.06 compounding monthly, then we can obtain the maturity amount by simply calculating the future value of the cash flow. Let us try to understand first what is meant by recurring deposit. Recall that you have opted for 1 year, right? So the starting time to end time, which is 1 year. What you do is every month you pay, say at the beginning of every month, you pay 1,000 rupees. Say this is 1st Jan. Then again 1st Feb, you will be paying another 1,000 rupees. And then 1st of March, you pay another 1,000 rupees. And like that, it goes on till say 1st of November 1,000 and 1st of December 1,000, and that completes your installment. And then what banks does is it keeps this entire cash for 1 month, and then on 1st of Jan next year, the bank gives you the maturity amount. The maturity amount is nothing but all the money that you gave, which is 12,000 plus interest. Okay. Now, what is this is the question. What is this maturity amount is the question. The maturity amount is precisely the future value of this cash flow. Okay. Now, you have to carefully write the cash flow. That is the main part of this problem. What is the cash flow? This is X naught. X naught is 1,000. Like that, you have X11, which is the December, this one, December installment. And then your deposit goes till January. Okay, you have to carefully write the cash flow. It's just a smartness. You see that you have paid 12 installments, and the interest is paid 12 times. Okay, therefore you don't stop your cash flow here. Then you will have to have your n as 11, but actually your n in your formula, with you can see that it is 12. Therefore you include one more term and make it as 0. You may interpret it as you are actually having 13 intervals, with the last interval being 0, means you don't have any cash flow from your side. No installment is paid on 1st of Jan. The bank just keeps that money and then pays you back the maturity, right? Therefore you put X12 as 0. Okay, so this kind of cash flow you can write only if you clearly understand how this investment works. Okay, so once you write this cash flow, then it's just putting it into your formula, that's all. Okay, now your maturity amount is nothing but your future value of the given cash flow. What is that? It is, if you recall, it is given by K equal to 0 to 12 xk 1 plus RT divided by 12, the whole power 12 minus K, right? So R is, what is R? R is 0.06, T is 1. Therefore, you can now put these values into your formula, and the final value you can get. Okay, substituting these values into the future value formula, we get this, where xk's are 1,000 up to x11 and x12 is 0. So if you put all this and calculate, you will get the maturity value as 12,397 rupees 24 pies. You can also write the cash flow stream from the point of view of bank, where the bank receives 1,000 rupees for 12 times. Therefore, it's the 12 times you have 1,000 with positive sign, because they get the money. There is an inflow of money into the bank. And finally, on the 13th month, there is an outflow. Therefore, you have a negative flow. Similarly, you can write the cash flow stream from the depositor's point of view, where thousands will have negative, but finally the maturity amount will have positive.